Okay guys, hopefully you're still having a good break and getting plenty of revision done. So here's the next set of questions. So I'll just run through the questions first, so you can stop the video every so often and just have a go at them and then check the answers later on. So this question is in two parts. So there's the first part. There's the second part. Next question involves a pie chart, mixing it with a probability. Next question's about ratio. Quite a lot of ratio questions going to come up in your exams, so it's worth practicing these well. And something about polygons. I keep forgetting those formulas. And then there's a question on circle theorems, but obviously involving ratios mixed in with a bit of equation work. Okay, so those are the questions that we're going to do for today's video. So let's get the first one sorted. Okay, so this first one talks about an expression. And an expression, remember, is just a series of terms with no equal sign. And so we've got to look at this and what does it want? It wants the area of the trapezium, and we've got to give the answer in the simplest form. So when it talks about area, then we should be thinking of trapezium. So area equals a half sum of the parallel sides times the height between, or the distance between the two parallel sides. The question talks about three identical isosceles triangles. So if this length's B, then this must also be B, and this must also be B. So in other words, this base length here is 2B. So when we are looking at this formula, then we can see that we're going to replace the bottom length with 2B and the top length with B. And the height between them is H. And we've got here 3b's over 2, so it'll be 3 over 2 b h. So that will give us the area as an expression. The question goes on and talks about, we've got a ratio here for the length of this slant side, and it's the same trapezium, so we've got to work out an expression for the perimeter, and it's got to be just in b's. Okay, so we know that this was B and this was B because they're isosceles triangles. We need this S in terms of B, and the ratio of B to S equals 2 to 3 means that I can do the fraction B to S is the same as 2/3. So S, if we take this across by timesing, and then take the 3 across by timesing, and then divide by the 2. So S is the same as 3b over 2. So that means we can replace this with 3b over 2, and we can replace this with 3b over 2 because they're isosceles. And basically then we go through the process of adding up everything we've got to work out the expression for the perimeter. And perimeter, remember, is all about adding the lengths around the edge of the shape. So we've got 3b's from those, then we've got 3b over 2 plus 3b over 2, so that's 1.5b, 1.5b, 3b, 6b. So the answer for that one should be 6b. Okay, so that's a bit of work on expressions and ratio mixed. Okay, so this next question talks about a pie chart, and it's telling us the proportion for each candidate, and it's asking us to work out the probability. Well, we know that technically means you want a fraction, so therefore we need a total, and we're just told about proportions, so we must recognise that this is around a circle, angles around a point, 360. We've got x's all over the place, so it's shouting out at us to make an equation to find x. Because we need to know what proportion of the pie chart is each sector. So we've got 90 plus x plus 2x plus 2x plus 10, and that all equals 360. And we can simplify this down, so we've got 5x's plus 100 equals 360. So 5x's will equal 260, so we take away 100 from both sides. And we know that x then is going to be 260 divided by 5, which is 52 degrees. Okay, so it asks us to work out the probability of the person who voted C. Okay, so the angle for C is 2 lots of 52 plus 10. So that's 104, 114. These are all non-calculator questions, by the way, guys. 104, 114 degrees. So work out the probability. It's the proportion of the pie chart, so 114 out of 360. Now we could leave the answer as that because it's a probability question. We technically don't have to cancel down. It doesn't say simplify down as far as you can. But if you wanted to, you could say that that's equivalent to 57 over 180. Don't need the symbols because it's a fraction and they've got the same units. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. So we've got a 114 over 360, 57 over 180. Okay. Alright, so this question involves ratios and 2 letters, so it's kind of shouting out at you, please work out the value of the letters so that we can actually answer the question. So this ratio here tells me that the ratio of x over y is equal to 7 over 4. So x will equal 7/4 of y, because we take the y over by timesing. Then we can replace the y here, sorry, the x here, because we're going to have x in terms of y, because when we solve equations we need a single letter. So we have 7/4 of y plus y equals 88. My advice is that when you're dealing with fractions, the easiest way to do this on a non-calculator paper in particular is to just multiply everything by 4. So we end up with 7y's plus 4y's equals 4 lots of 80, 320, 352. And then we have 11y's is worth 352. And then we divide by 11. And we've got techniques for doing this, but 11's into 3, carry the 3 over, 11's into 35, 3, carry the 2 over the remainder, because 11 3 is 33, take away 35 is 2, and then 11's is 22, so 32, so we know that y is 32, so x plus 32 must equal 88, so x is going to be equal to 56, okay, and if x is equal to 56, then x take away y is what the question wanted, so we can then do 56, take away the y value and get an answer of 24. Okay, so that's how that question could have been sorted. This question, when we go through 2 congruent regular polygons, so that means that this angle must be the same as this angle, and they're joined together. And it says work out the number of sides for each polygon. Okay, so lots of different ways of doing this. Because I know that these two angles are the same, and I know that angles around a point add up to 360. And if I call that x and x, then I know that 2x plus 60 equals 360. So 2x is worth 300, so x is worth 150 degrees. And this is the interior angle of the polygon. And what we should remember is that when a question talks about polygons, the what do we know should be things like the interior plus the exterior equals 180 degrees, because all polygons straight sides, so we have an interior and an exterior, and they add up to 180 degrees. We should remember, because they're talking about regular, that the exterior angle is always equal to 360 divided by the number of sides. And the sum of interior angles is n minus 2 times 180. So we've got all those facts about polygons and angles, so we should kind of think, mention the word polygons, these are the things we should be thinking about. Regular then tells us how we can use this one because this particular formula only works for regular. The other two work for any polygons, regular or irregular. Okay, so we know that's the interior angle. So the exterior angle must be 180, take away 150 degrees, so 30 degrees. And because we have the formula, the exterior angle equals 360 divided by n, then we know that 30 degrees is equal to 360 divided by n, so n must be 360 divided by 30, which equals 12 sides. Okay, so this question talked about regular polygons, and we had these rules to work with. We knew some facts around here because they said congruent, those two angles must be the same, and it wants to work out the number of sides, and that's what we've done. We've got 12 sides. Okay. So this question talks about a cyclic quadrilateral. So what do we know about that? Then we know that opposite angles add to 180 degrees. We're told a ratio here, so therefore we can work with this idea that x over y is equal to 5 over 7. So we can change that into x equals 5/7 of y. The y can come across by timesing. And we want to work out the size of angle W. So those two must add up to 180. So that means we need to find the value of x. So if we put the known information into here, then we know that those two add to equal 180 degrees. So therefore we can write down that 5/7 of y plus y equals 180 degrees, and if I times everything by 7, then I end up with 5y's plus 7y's and 780's, okay, so 7 times 18, 56, 7 tens is 70, so 126, so that's going to be 1260. So I have 12y's is equal to 1260, so y will equal 12 into 1260. 1 doesn't work with that, so that's 5. 12 into 12 is 1, no remainder. 12 into 6 doesn't work, so 0, 6 remainder. 12 into 60 is 5, so 105 degrees. So we know that y is 105 degrees, so this must be 75 degrees, because they add up to 180, and therefore this must be 95 degrees, because we put the x value there, and if that's 95 degrees, then w must be 85 degrees. 95 degrees plus 85 degrees equals 180 degrees. That's our check. Okay, so that's how that question could have been answered, by thinking about the fact that a cyclic quadrilateral, opposite angles add to 180, and so on. So those are your questions for today, guys. So as usual, keep practicing, keep looking at your work, and good luck in your revision.